was able to get to the end of it. Someone had some issues while trying to do it, but I hope the person was able to do all that once. So, without further ado, let's try to solve the task. Remember, the task is simple. The first one is to use this, right? And the second to search for dynamic naming and verify a text. And the second one is to over docs, click on quick start, and click on playground and move to the next place. So I'm going to use the same the same repository I've created. I'm going to start from the main file. So you can check the solution of what I've done, but I'll start from the main file and move from there. So I will go right ahead and open. I will open the solution here, or I think, let me just start it all over again. So let's just start a new one. So let's create a Vue class, something like that. So let's do this. So quickly, I'm just going to create a package.json file where I can easily install all the dependencies that I might need. So I haven't done that, so I'll just quickly install Cypress as a dev dependency. So with that done, and I will open Cypress once it's done. So wait for that to get done. Let me just zoom this to be sure that people can see it. I think that's too big. Oh, yeah, I think this is moderate. While waiting for the installation to complete, yeah, the installation is complete, so I'll just put in the command here to run Cypress to open a runner at each point in time. So I'm going to do that. Someone said something on the Discord channel, or he wasn't able to get through everything, but at least he made a very decent effort. So I'm going to go ahead and open Cypress for the first time. And the runner is here. So it's going to create these folders for me automatically, and I can come here and create a sample file. I can just pick any browsers that I have. All the browsers that you see there are probably they are just binaries of the browser that I've installed by myself. So let's just call this one Vue because we are using the Vue site, and that is done. We would not be needing that. So for now, I can actually close all of my I can close the runner for now because I won't be needing it. So it just gets into the coding part of things. So let's get right into it. The first place I want to go to is make some changes in my config file. So what I would do first is get the base URL. Like I said, Cypress actually encourages same site, same origin automation. Not that it does not take care of cross origin automation, but it encourages that, and for very good reasons, actually. It encourages that. So another thing I want to do here is check out my default command timeout. This often I've realized that giving it a bigger buffer, like 10 seconds, actually makes things safer because Cypress is pretty fast. So at times the command might actually outdo the page load time. So just to be on the safer side, I do this. And I think with this, we are good to go. So let's just open everything that we have. So the first thing I will do is change this and just put in a forward slash, which ideally would practically just pick the URL from the base URL that I've already configured right here. So the next thing I'm going to just name this well. So it's just a Vue exercise. Yeah, and the first one is to search. Use the search feature. Let's just call it that. Use the search feature. So what we're going to do here essentially is what I would have done manually. I would have come here manually, click on this, and type in dynamic naming, right? And I'll hit on the enter button. Then manually I'll see that yes, this text is there, but I just need to use the whole of Cypress to do that. So the first thing I have to do is I have to be able to interact with the web elements I'm clicking at each point. So in order to do that, I just need to use the dev tools, look for that particular element, the search button. So it could be this, right? This entire thing here, and that's a class right there. So I could pick this class and represent it as a CSS selector. So which means I can get into my code and do this. Get, that's the command used in Cypress to fetch to identify elements. So as a class, this is what I would put there, because every class name is represented by a dot first in CSS selector. Now remember that I just visited the site. Which means I've initiated an action. So it is okay for me to verify that the action is successful. So I tend to always check if the page is loaded by checking if the element I'm looking for is actually, if it exists. So I'm checking if it's visible first, then I'll go ahead and click it. So at this point, I think we could start trying to see what we are doing to know if we're on the right track. So right now, let me just quickly add a little flag to this, since we've already configured E to E, so we can just make sure that it picks that at all times. And it is very important to also mention that when you're trying to run on VS Code, people forget a lot. Just put it on autosave. So as you are making changes, it gets updated all the time, because Cypress has the ability to always pick your change, except you configure it not to do that. So let's see if we're on the right track. And moment of truth. Um, yeah, it clicked it, so it's there. So the next thing that I want to do is want to type in dynamic naming. Okay, so in order to type in that, we have to first of all do that interaction again, get the search box that we want to type into. So that's the input, and we have this there. So it's a class name that is well formed as well. So we can use this, or we can decide to use the ID if you want that. And based off best practices, ID is actually better because it is safer. But if you're talking about the latest best practices, it's better to have test attributes attached to your input tag. So I think this is the best opportunity to plead for keyways to front-end engineers that try to put in data test attributes into your tag naming. Okay, I think I've done one for the keyways tonight. Oh, lest I forget, there is something from Cypress tonight. Should you, once we get to the end of it, I'll share a feedback where you can, oh, you stand a chance to win some cool swags from Cypress. So please stay tuned. So we are going to use ID. We're going to use an ID here, and just to be sure that yeah, we'll just move on time, and we'll come here, and again we use the get command to, and to represent an ID in CSS selector you use an hash. So we use this, and because we've also clicked on this button, see there's an action and there's an effect. We clicked on the button to show this, so we can also verify that this is visible before we move on. So I can also do should, well, let's just be fast about it, visible, and we want to type. And what we want to type is a dynamic naming. Now, there is a bit of a tricky situation here. There is no button to click after typing dynamic naming. after typing dynamic naming, there's no button to click, so we have to use the enter feature. And how do you do that in Cypress? You just simply add a parenthesis and add the word enter into it, and this should take care of it for us. So let's go back and test and see what's going on. So hold on, have I done that rookie mistake again? I didn't remove that, so let me just start there. Maybe it has stopped itself. So let's see. As you can see, so enter worked and it has done this. So the last thing I need to do is just verify this text. So there are several ways you could do that in Cypress, because Cypress already does a lot of checks for you. So you could use the should command to do that, or you could actually get the element and use the invoke attributes to get the text and verify that text using a chai assertion. But because of time, we will just use the should as it is, because it also embraces the chai assertions as well. So what we're going to do is get back to that site, and at the same time, we always have to interact. So I'm going to just go ahead and press enter, and I have to interact with the element that has this, and this is it, right? So this here, well, it has um, a it has a unique identifier, an ID, so I do not need to worry myself. All I need to just do, come here again and identify it. It is an ID, so it's going to be preceded by an hash, and I'll do this. So, of course, it's a cause and effect. I'm seeing something new. So, to be on the safer side, just I would like to see that I got this right. So instead of doing something else, I could just append an and. So instead of writing should twice, I could just use an and command to check if it has a text. If it has a text, and the text that it has, let's quickly copy that from the page. The text that we are looking for is this. So I can just paste this in it. So I can paste this here, and we check the test again and see if everything runs well. So let me zoom the screen a bit. So let's run this and see. And yes, everything runs well. It was able to check. It typed this in. Oh, it didn't run the test. So now, has it done the test? Not yet. So we are going to close this and run this again to see. Um, and it is saved. So we just need to make sure that that is checked out. So I want to verify that one more time, because I can't see that in the logs here that it has verified it. So I will go back. Yes, so this is it now. It's unable to find this. So it says it's unable to find. Okay. So okay, so it actually found it, but it says that the text is different. So so what we are going to do is we are going to copy the text the way it is. This is one of the glitches that you might experience. So we're just going to copy that text again, and even if it has white spaces, we are just going to leave it like that. So and with this done, We'll run this again and see. Um, for some reason, it's not picking the changes, which is weird. We'll look into that shortly. So in order to just move past that, so we can use, instead of use an half text, we can use a content, because half text actually is way more stricter. So using contain would actually make life a lot easier for us. So it would get that text. So every other white spaces can be ignored if we use the contain.text. So let us run it that way and see. And again, it's not picking the changes. I need to see why it isn't picking changes. Okay, so autosave was off. Yeah, so it's working now. And as you can see, it actually picked dynamic the dynamic argument syntax constraint. So it has picked that. So we can go on to the next task. And the next task is to ideally just over, let me just demonstrate the next task. The next task is to come over here, click on quick start and click on playground. And playground, the it would open a new tab. So we need to see how we are going to address opening that new tab, because Cypress ideally does not allow you to do that, because it supports more of a single page application. Like it wants everything to be done in just one single page and not redirect. Although there's a plugin in beta version, Cypress at Puppeteer, where Cypress is using Puppeteer plugin capabilities to be able to handle multiple tabs, but that's still in beta version. But the easiest workaround is to just work with the target attribute of the particular element you're clicking. So I'm going to show us how we're going to do that. So the next task will be to get in here and create the eat block that we are going to use for that. So let me just say pick quick start from the docs list and undo a tab redirect, right? So this is the task that we want to do basically. So I'm just going to put the callback function and we are going to start. So as usual, the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to always interact with the element first. So I need to identify the docs tab, right? So in the docs tab, this is the button itself. So let's see if it's a unique button. So I could just quickly do a find and see it has 12 matches, so it is not unique. And so there are ways to just go about it. So I'm just going to use its position to get it out. So I know that this navigation um, will be easier to identify. So what I will do is I will use that navigation button, the navigation tab, to get it. And in the navigation tab, I can look for the div, right? And the div with the first one is what I'm looking for. So I can just get the one in the first position, right? And get this and look for the button in it. Um, so that's not unique. So in order not to waste time, I do have some helpers that I use as a tester. So what I would just do is get it from here and open selectors hub to get it. Now we have something here, but it's quite long, so I would not want to use something long. So let me try Ranorex, and it is long. So let's just use something that we can rely on from here. So from here, if I have this and I have two of it, and this is one, where's the second one? Okay, so let me just go back to this one here and directly go under it and look for a button. And which button will I find first? And I can put the class on it. And this should, yes. So this helps me to navigate to that button itself. So I can pick that and go into my code now. And the first thing I will do is this. So I already have a conundrum here. So I want to do this test differently. So I don't want, which means I have to launch the page each time I run the test. And I don't want to start repeating myself and start having a visit command in all my tests. So I can just put this in a hook somewhere in the support folder because every command I put inside this E to E will be executed before my script start running. So I can use a before each, which would help me run before each of the E blocks. So I can put it before each here, and I'm just going to go with the arrow function and with the callback function rather. So I'm going to put in the visit command here. So which means I can eliminate it from here and everywhere else. So now what I need to do is just visit the element I copied, this, and the thing I need to do on it is, of course, I've just visited, so I need to check. I need to check if it's visible, right? So I need to over on it, and the command for that in Cypress is trigger. So ideally, I just need to do a mouse over, but watch what happens, right? We will do this mouse over for sake of speed. Let's just run this test alone and see what happens in our test case. So still doesn't pick everything. What is? I did not. Well, I think I need to just specify watching for file changes. Watch for file changes and set it to true so you can always pick it for me. Because I really wanted to pick it for me. It's one of the cool things, cool features of Cypress. So, and still cannot find it. And I have all my tests saved. Oh, I used it only. I wasn't paying attention. Come on. Yeah. So, yeah. So there's a mouse over, but it doesn't show the drop down. Now, what is happening right here is that the drop down that we're expecting is not actually handled in JavaScript, it's handled in CSS. So it's not going to work using a mouse over. But if we use, if we change it to, if we change it to mouse enter, this would work. And in the case that it doesn't work, there's a plugin that we can easily just add. As you can see, it worked. So there's a plugin that we can easily just add, and that would make things work. Okay, so in here we can now try to speed things up and get to the next thing that we need to do. Remember that we need to click on quick start. So we could try to use the one of the Cypress features where we could just use the text and it will look for the particular text and click on it. So let's see if it should be should be visible since we have a drop down. So let's see what we get from our test. Yes, quick start is visible. So if quick start is visible, we can as well just click on it. So we can just do a dot click, pardon me. So we can just click on it and let's see how that pans out for us. So yeah, it has clicked on quick start and quick start is there. So the last thing that we need to do is click on playground. So this is where it gets interesting. When we get to playground, see what's in playground. So I'm going to zoom this side a bit so you can see. So playground has an attribute target that has a blank value. This is what is responsible for it to open a new tab. So if I come right here right now, okay, if I open this right now, as you can see, it opens a new tab. But if I come right here and I delete what is here, and I hit enter and I click on playground, it doesn't open a new tab. So my task is either to find a way to delete it or probably just set it to something else, because if I also don't delete it and I just set it to self, right? If I set it to self and I click on playground, it doesn't open a new tab either. So I have three options. I can delete the entire thing, just remove the attribute and click on playground and it will still stay here. So I have three options. Either I set it to blank, set it to self, or I remove the target. So for sake of class, I think I have the time. I would just set it to self first, then try to remove the attribute as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and do and identify that particular element. So it's an A tag. So I can equally just get all A tags and look for the one that contains playground. Isn't that the name? Let me check again. So I'll look for the one that contains playground and click on it. Playground, right? So let's see if any one of such exists. Yes, one contains playground. And the next thing I can do is I can invoke, which is the way I would either delete it or I would reset it. So let me just reset it. So I'll invoke the attribute target, and I will set that to self, right? So with this done, if I click on it, it won't, I don't expect it to leave that tab. So as you can see, it stays back on the tab. So we can still see this log, but to be sure that that was what is responsible for it, I'm just going to go ahead and remove this. And you click it and you see what happens in the on the tab. So you see that it opens an entirely new tab and it left where all the logs and everything is going on in the runner. So in order to avoid that, that's um, that's a neat trick that you can use. So another way we can do that is instead of using attributes, we can just go ahead and just use remove. Um, that's very fast. So we can just go ahead and remove attributes target entirely. And this would do the same thing for us. And you see, we are still on the same page. So all we just need to do is verify that this text is there. So we can go here and check that. So let's just go into, we've already opened it here. We need to interact with the element at all times. So we have this and is that span. So I can easily just use this H1 and let's check H1 here, and that's a span. It's just one. So we can use this H1 here to get what we need. Now, it's important to tell you that at every point in time, it is not just about getting a unique element identifier. You should make sure that it is also reliable. So we can do the same thing that we did here. Just check if it contains something. So we could just paste this contains text. And what text are we looking for this time around? Um, the text we are looking for is this, and that would ideally finish the second task for us. So we can move on to the final one now, the final task of the day. So I can remove this from only, and all the tests can run all together. Um, or for now, I could skip the two of them while I write the last one. So let me just skip this and also skip this for now while I write the last one of it. So in the last one here, I'm going to go ahead and create that e block again. And this time around, the test will just be to click on examples. We've done quick start, so we can click on examples now. So let's say pick examples from the doc list. Pick examples from the docs tab drop down. This is a befitting name rather than just call it a list. So I'm going to go with the callback function again. And as usual, I need to interact. So there are some things that I will still need to use. The docs tab, I just need to over on the docs tab again in order to get examples. And I can equally use this same style where I'm just going to go through with changing it to examples this time around. So I'll just change this to example. So I'll change this to examples. And it would essentially click examples for me. So that's it. So the last thing I need to do is I need to close this. So I need to get this out of the way. Now, the thing is, my browser with its configuration does not let me see this. So I can still come inside here and actually get what I need. So I intentionally put this there so people can understand that the way Cypress works, you can actually do this as well when you need something to get done. Or you could just leave it as since it has a text on it, you could just use that text, right? You could just use that text to click it. Or you could we could either click the button or just click API reference. That would do the same thing for us. Okay. So we could go back in here now, and if we click on API reference, it will just close everything there entirely. So that's what we're trying to do. So let us use that same method where we just copy, where we just say maybe dot contains, right? Or we just get an element that is close to it. So we could do this, interact with this. We could interact with this here, get that span and say if it contains API reference and we'll pick on it. Or we could say a button with a span, if it has API reference, click on it. So we could do a button with a span. It has a lot, but this one could contain it could contain API reference. So we could do a sci.get, right? And we'll put this there, and it contains API reference, and I click on that, and this ideally should also get it all sorted. Oh, API preference, not reference. So API preference.
I know you're wrapping up, so I feel like we're so close before I start Q&A.
Okay. So you can go ahead with Q&A.
While you're working? Okay. Uh, could you go into more detail about what Puppeteer is?
Oh, Puppeteer is actually another tool like Cypress that can run automation, actually. And
Oh,
yeah, it's a tool. There are several tools that are node based like Playwright, Puppeteer, and WebDriver IO, and CodeCept.js, even Nightwatch, among others. So, but unlike Cypress, Puppeteer has some features that can allow you to handle tabs and all. So Cypress, being a node-based tool, is able to integrate with other node-based tools. Take for instance, Cypress does not have a default binary for Safari browser, and Playwright has something called a Playwright toolkit, a Playwright web kit that allows you to launch something close to a Safari browser, and Cypress integrates with that seamlessly. So you can also you can run your test on Safari browsers even if you don't even have you can even do that on the Windows system because you just need to install the plugin and all. So Puppeteer is another tool that can be used for automation, but Cypress just takes some parts of its plugins to run.
very cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Another question we have is how to achieve high code coverage.
Okay. In achieving high code coverage, it's very tricky because you need to remember that testing can't be exhaustive. So when you're aiming at high code coverage, first is you have, as a tester, from a tester's perspective, you have to cover the critical journeys. You have to make sure you've covered the critical journeys to 100%. So that gives you a confidence that for every time you run a regression test in your pipeline, you know that the application is still valid to the users because all the critical journeys are covered. Unlike then you can begin to look at the edge cases, things that are actually prone to break all the time. Everybody would have experienced that every time that there is a deployment, there is a particular feature that breaks. So you cover that as well, and that you would have you can confidently say that you're close to high coverage in terms of tests.
Very cool. Thank you. All
Yeah.
right. Two more of are there any other features that Cypress offers for testing my app that we did not cover in this exercise?
Oh, there are quite a lot. There are quite a lot of things that Cypress offers. Cypress is the only tool that specifically covers um, component testing. Like it focuses on your components when you're in an ecosystem where you use reusable components, where you need to see that those components are okay at all times. Cypress has a dedicated configuration for that, and I think we sort of breezed through that when we started. um, Let me just quickly show you that again. So
Sure, sure.
I will just quickly run this out, and let me just use the Cypress open, and you will see that there's a part that we did not even visit at all. That we only configured one part, the component testing, so it's the part that we did not touch at all. And aside that, this little feature does not cover being able to use Cypress to even run your API tests, to even be able to save sessions from your API and add it to your UI tests. So there are a lot more things that this small.
What's going on? So sorry. I'm not sure what is going on there. Um, you were mentioning about that after we didn't use one feature, and that was the last part of it that I heard.
Yeah, I said that we did not use component tests. This is it here. We did not configure it at all. It's a part of Cypress that we didn't cover here, which helps you to test all your components that you've built that is being used across all your front end team in your organization. And we did not touch tests where we would use Cypress to re- point to APIs, run API requests, get responses from API, and even pass it into your UI test. We did not get to a point where we can use Cypress to automate email features where you can send emails and receive tokens from the email, and quite a lot of things that we didn't use Cypress to do at this point in time. So there is a whole lot more to Cypress. I do have some videos that I made about Cypress online on my YouTube channel that you can also see.
Perfect. Thank you. And last question of sometimes someone has trouble getting Cypress to click on an element. What might be the issue?
So in those cases, it might be that the element is being covered by another by a parent element. You know, these elements are they have this parent-child relationship. So it might be that another parent is a parent element is covering it. So in that case, you just need to use a force trigger to do that. And there are some events that it might not be handled by JavaScript, it might be handled by CSS, so to speak. So what you do is there's a plugin called Cypress Real Events where it makes it look. You can install that plugin with Cypress and you can have that feature clicked and it would click. And in other cases, some people do experience it when maybe they've redirected to a new tab, so in order to, I mean, sorry, redirected to a new site apart from their base URL where they've already used a site.origin, and inside site.origin, some commands won't work. So you need a Cypress.require to get that in. I hope
Okay.
that answers the question.
Hopefully, hopefully. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We greatly appreciate you wrapping up our conference.
Yeah, can I quickly share the link to? I will share it with you, so maybe you share with the audience. So
For
the
sure.
link to where they can get they stand to win some swags and all that. There's a form I'm going to share. So I'll just quickly share that with you right now. And
Perfect.
yeah, so you can share with everybody. So this is Courtesy Cypress. So it's from the Discord channel. I don't know if you'll be able to get it.
I
Or
believe
let me find you on Discord and try to send it to you again. Chen.
that is me.
Okay, so let me look for you. Chen. Okay, found you. Um, okay. I'm gonna send it to you through here.
Sweet. And we will oh,
Oh,
yeah.
I need to, let me open the. I think I need to open it first. I just copied the link directly from there. So let me just open it first, then send it to you. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So this is it exactly. So
So we will get the
this
link
will work.
posted. Don't worry, everyone.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I have the form and we will get that put in the chat. Let me do that really quick. Here it is. That is the Google form for that. So thank you so much for your time today.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.